You are the one who asked for my performance. Men are so heartless and looks don't last.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. So in this episode, we're going to talk about CELINE, a flow controller. And she is going to be a really good esper in both progression and also in the late game. Because she is still pretty much needed because there are not many esper that can inflict sleep to your enemies. So let's take a look at her first skill. The first skill attacks one enemy, there is 110% attack, 10% lower than 120%, which is the normal attack damage for the first skill, and the 70% chance of inflicting sleep is kind of low. Like you do want the chance to be at least 75% to have 50-50 chance of inflicting sleep. So don't rely too much on inflicting sleep on the first skill, but if you have no other choice, like she doesn't require to be like dealing damage, so whenever she casts her first skill, just hope for the sleep to latch into your enemy, and that will, if you are lucky, prevent them from moving for one turn, and that is good. And then going into the second skill, dispels one debuff from each ally, grants speed up to all allies for 2 turns and defense up for 1 turn. This is where her skill shines. Like, the cooldown is only 3 turns, so she can rotate this skill very fast. So the speed up will be permanent, like for all of her allies, if you make her being the fastest esper in your lineup. And the defense up, even though it only lasts for 1 turn, if you do aim for the defense up buff, then you do want to pair her up with another defense up buffer, like someone like Gabriel, Fatum's sister, etc. And the advantage of having defense up for 1 turn is that in Desolate Land, the Shadow Gale require you to dispel buffs, dispel debuffs, and also to give you buff to your allies. And the thing is that if you give a long duration buff, it is not counted when you cast the same buff again on top of the previous one. So that's why in this stage you do want a short duration buff, so you will apply those buffs again once the previous one expires. Because if the previous one haven't expired yet, the next one will not be counted towards the buffs that you cast to your allies. So sometimes I do think that Alice here is kind of a double-edged sword. Like she gives a 1 turn buff here, the attack up, but this skill here increase all allies buffs the duration for 1 turn, which gonna kill your chance of refreshing that buff in here. Reducing the Shadow Gale debuff on you, because your buff now lasts for 1 turn longer, and if you happen to cast the same buff again on top of the previous one, then it's gonna be a waste. So that's why I try to bring different kind of buff that doesn't overlap with each other into these states, and that's why CELINE is still really good and relevant in that stage because of her 1 turn defense up, and also together with that able to dispel 1 debuff from each ally. So in one move she is able to reduce the boss's debuff by 3 times. So that's really good on the second skill. And then the third skill here, attacks all enemies, damage 80% attack, again 20% lower than the normal 100% attack damage for AoE attack. But this reduces the enemy's AP by 30%, which is huge, this one. And then 100% chance of inflicting sleep for 2 turns. Like, again, you do need a Belimon in increasing the AP reduction and also the chance of inflicting sleep, but it's pretty much needed at this point. Like if you have CELINE and you get an extra Belimon, do give her a Belimon, because you're gonna be able to make use of her in a lot of places, in story mode, in Shadow Gale, and then in the Infinite Tower, Temporal Tower, and then Cube Battle. and then also in Falsetto Fantasy. So there are a lot of places where you can use CELINE. That's why giving her a Bilimon is not going to be a waste, especially for cube and tower progression that you're gonna do every couple of weeks. You gonna love having her when you are still very much not end game player, because the enemy is going to be much stronger than you. So your obvious choice, your chance of killing your enemy is to prevent them from getting any turn to move at all. So bringing 5 controller into your lineup and at least 1 poison esper will guarantee that the enemy will not move at all. So no matter how strong they are, no matter how much damage they deal, if they don't get a turn at all in a turn-based game, it is just a punching bag at that point. You can just take your time killing your enemy, and there is no time limit in that stage. So you can just slowly kill them while preventing them from moving at all. So that's why the AP reduction here is really strong, and the cooldown is also only 3 turns. You can just keep on casting this. So pairing her up with someone like Eira, Longmian, Pritzker, Parvy will guarantee you to have a success into clearing that content that is much higher than your level. Now CE also gives Captain ability that adds your allies accuracy by 30%. If you don't have that much equipment that have high accuracy, this one definitely helps a lot. And also her Ascension and also her Resonance gives her a lot of accuracy. So she will pretty much guarantee to reach 80% accuracy very easily. Now her equipment here, very much recommended to give wind set to her to make her consistently move towards the fight, because she needs to cast this speed up at the very beginning of the battle and give this to all of her allies, so she will push her allies turns much faster. So she needs to be the first one to move, and that's why speed stat is very important for her. And because she doesn't deal that much damage, so obviously don't build her as a damage dealer, and just give her more HP bonus and defense bonus, and then accuracy for the other stats. You can just balance them out, and she doesn't require that much stats, so only as much speed as possible, and she is already good, so very easy to build. And the game also recommends you to go for Astralis set, like that is quite alright. Like if you do want to cast your third skill and second skill together in the same turn with a chance, then that is good. And also if you happen to cast the first skill twice with Astralis, then it will increase your chance of inflicting sleep to your target. So quite okay, but I still do prefer the wind set for her to be able to move first and consistently giving AP down here without relying on gambling and chance. Now into the growth, because she doesn't rely on stats that much, so obviously you can just stop her at level 50 here, and you can save your Starimon for someone else. Don't level her up to level 60, like she already performed at her best performance at level 50, so just keep her at that. And then her resonance here, we've already seen the 6 resonance, like it increased the sleep duration to 2 turns, so this is pretty much needed, like very strong, especially in Falsetto Fantasy. And even after you have so many sleep esper, you still pretty much need CELINE, because you need to bring as many sleep esper in better Falsetto Fantasy as much as you can. Because the more sleep you bring, the more chance you keep the boss on permanent sleep, and you can have more time into dealing damage to the boss. And that's why Resonance 6 insanely needed and insanely strong. Now the second Resonance, its surviving enemy grants accuracy plus 5%. This is good. This is what I meant when saying she doesn't really need accuracy that much. Her Resonance only give her a bonus of 25% if you are fighting against 5 enemies. And then the fourth Resonance, if there's an ability on cooldown speed plus 18, which is really good and really strong for her, because she can rotate on her skill very fast with all of these skills on 3 turns cooldown. And then going into her ascension, I do wish that she could have a speed bonus in here, but she doesn't have any of that, so that's a shame. But all of her ascension here focus on her survivability. There is health, there's defense, there's resist, and there's another health. So, and the accuracy bonus is also really good, another bonus of 15%. So in total, she already get a bonus of 40% from her ascension and her resonance for her accuracy. So you only need another 40% from your equipment and she is good to go. Now the third ascension gives the bonus of defense up here. So this is definitely needed for the desolate land. And then the rival rune, again, this is what the game developer recommend to you. Wins equipment, always, give this to her. And this one for the Mui, actually she can just use anything, like any Mui is good. The only thing that you need to care about is the substats here, like she needs as much speed as possible and just give her any survivability stats. She doesn't need attack at all, But if you do give her attack, then it is alright, like she's not picky about her stats, that's her good trait. And then her Divinate here, when target has sleep, Serene Melody's final damage got increased, and Serene Melody is the first skill. So she doesn't need her Divinate at all. Like the stats also increase her attack and HP, which is pretty much not needed. Like it increases her survivability for the HP, but then again, she is a controller. Like as long as the enemy doesn't move at all, she doesn't really need anything else. And so that is CELINE, guys. And yeah. So not really many things to talk about. Like if you do want to use her in PvP, like she is only able to work in PvP if you do have Hilda at Resonance 6. If Hilda is at Resonance 6, then she is able to prevent the enemy's sleep from getting removed when they are attacked. And that is the only time when a sleep esper can go into PvP. Because if not, then if you inflict sleep to your enemies and then attack them, then the sleep is going to be removed. So there is no use of giving a 2-turn sleep duration on your enemies if they gonna wake up straight away after your sleeper esper move, and then your damage dealer deal damage to them. Sometimes I do wish, like, if you want to inflict sleep to your enemies, then just make your sleeper esper be the last one to move. But it is really hard to make sure that your sleeper will move before the enemy, or all of the enemy move. So Yuran is also another esper that makes best use of sleeper for sleep debuff, which by giving her his allies apotropaic that increase damage to target with a sleep. But if he doesn't, if you don't pair him up with Hilda, again the enemy after receiving this damage, they gonna wake up. So Hilda is pretty much a must needed at Resonance 6 in here, and only then you will be able to use Sleeper Esper to their maximum potential. But the best part about CELINE is that her sleep lasts for 2 turns, but her cooldown of this skill is only 3 turns. So if you bring CELINE compared to other sleeper esper, she is able to inflict permanent sleep on all her enemies if you pair her up with a Resonance 6 Hilda. So that is the only thing that she is better compared to other legendary sleeper esper. And for the other, for everything else, she just lose to them. That's the only thing that is she wins. Because again, rare esper and epic esper advantage among the legendary esper is their low turns cooldown. So if you do want to give her the harmony set, you can also do that because of her low cooldown third skill. Like you can get the bonus of this damage increase when using her third ability. So if you can have a really good, a really fast harmony set, then you can also do that for her. And she still performed quite well, even though she walks quite slow, like if she got her turn a little bit later. Because like I said just now, if you can manage to have her to be the
My
last
dear
expert to
friend,
move, but still
what would you like to
before
listen to
any
today?
of the enemy move, that will guarantee your sleep being uninterrupted by your own allies' damage. So that's the tips and tricks that I can give you for maximizing the usage of your CELINE, and hope
My
you
dear
guys enjoy this, and
friend,
I'll see you in the next
what would you
episode.
like
Bye
to
bye.
listen to today?